Hello again. We are at India Plus Social Good, and for the post-lunch session, a very interesting presentation now by Dr. Krithi Karanth, who's a wildlife conservationist and who spoke about the pressures that wildlife faces in India and what we can do about it and how to make space for wildlife. Krithi, what was your key message that you were trying to give the audience here?
I think a lot of problems we have in wildlife are solvable, and it's not a question of whether we need money or technology anymore. I think we just need the willpower to get stuff done. And so one of the big issues we see across India is conflict, people losing crops and livestock to wildlife, and occasionally human death and injury. And what we're hoping to do is come up with a simple solution that facilitates people applying for compensation from the government, because many scientific studies that I've done across India show that most people don't want to file for compensation because the process is cumbersome, and most often they don't get money for what they've lost. So there's a sense of frustration that's building. And for those of us who are not living next to wildlife, I think having this what we have is designed as a technology portal, which is a 1-800 number that people can call into to report a conflict incident, where our staff will help them file for compensation. Because as long as we have wildlife, and I hope we continue to have wildlife for a long time, there will be some numbers of leopards and tigers that kill, and wolves that kill cows, and there will be some number of elephants and pigs and other ungulates who come and raid crops. So question is, we've looked at mitigation measures people are using, whether it's building fences, using guard animals, and all the different tactics they're trying, but not all of that works either. So, I mean, there's sort of a three-pronged thing we can do. We can help improve the current mitigation efforts that they're actually doing. We can try and improve the compensation they get when they lose livestock. But I also think what hasn't been explored is this idea of insurance. We have health insurance, we have car insurance. So why can't we come up with an insurance scheme that applies to people who live close to wildlife, that in a sense precedes the other two? And I think we need to try all these different things to make sure people who have to face these losses are at least, there's some sense of support for them from the rest of us.
There is amazing amount of diversity in India on wildlife. Are we in danger of losing a lot of this very quickly because of population pressures?
I don't think it's population, really. I think the challenge now is that this country has 7% economic growth. There's a lot of development that's needed, whether it's building roads and highways and mining. But I don't want that to come at the cost of wildlife. We can very creatively design roads and corridors that still allows us to have connectivity, but does not cut off wildlife movement. That does not mean you're going to go mine in national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. There has to be certain areas set aside for wildlife and prioritized. And if you're talking about India now, it's 4% of land for wildlife. It's 1% effectively protected. That's not a lot. And I do think we have to engage with the government, with planners, to figure out ways in which we can come up with creative solutions, which is not saying no development, no growth, but informed development, informed growth that makes space for wildlife.